Fellow St. Lucians, this is Open Mic and we are back again with you. And today my guest is Mr. Peter Ras-Ipa, very well known to St. Lucia, and I don't even have to take any time to introduce this gentleman to the show. Today our show usually is in 4 segments, and my first segment is dedicated to Peter because there's some areas which I want to highlight. And I'm going to begin with, I have listened to Peter and the difficulties he's gone through for quite some time. However, the areas which bother me is the fact that these vendors are not step workers. These are people who support themselves. They come down, they buy their stuff, and they say they're not a burden to the nation. True enough that a few of them are delinquent in their rentals, but it is better for somebody to be delinquent in a rental like that and support himself rather than a program where people give something and we get nothing in return, nothing substantial, should I say. But by the same token, I think the time has come when we need to focus on some sort of assistance for those vendors. I have been to the market a couple of times recently, and I'm very annoyed on what I have seen. I'm starting at the back of the market. It's in a deplorable condition, and these people are operating under the elements of the rain and the sun constantly. The trays are dilapidated, and in my opinion, a very simple program like getting maybe 20, 30 columns, putting a roof, pressure wash the place for the people. And at the prisons, we have a lot of good guys there who do simple furniture. We make about 200-300 trays, paint them in another expensive paint, and give them to the people. Secondly, across from the supermarket, we have those vendors on the side who are earning a living, but by the same token, the structures are very dilapidated. They're not enticing to tourists. And at Tomaso, we have a marketplace which is underutilized. I've said time and time again, we should either copy something like that or take it down and bring it down, and you sectionalize the place so the people can have a proper thing. The next thing is the actual market itself. Though it was fairly well done, I'm talking of the one with the red roof. Because of the valleys which that place has, it was a bad design, and what happens, these valleys leak, because I've seen those problems before, and it's wet the people's goods. The third thing is that the area across the market, again, was badly designed because it's a number of individual houses, and what happens, water comes in between them and wet the people's goods. That cannot be right. You have the fire station, which has been there for years doing nothing. I've talked to very good contractors, and in less than 72 hours, that thing can be taken down and moved out. And if government doesn't have the funding right now, it is so simple to put a simple structure whereby we can have a place for the vendors. You have sheds 4 and 5, which has been closed for almost 12 to 13 years. It's about 600 feet long. You can put about 30, 40 doors and open up to the side, put it in a light pastel color. It's not going to cost a lot of money, and the vendors can go there. And those shops they have on the sidewalk should be removed, because I've repeatedly said a sidewalk is a side to walk on. And I'm very proud what the government is doing now at VG. I've said so for 15 years, that these should be replaced and suitable huts, cabanas put in, so that when the people arrive in St. Lucia, that's the first thing you see, and when you leave, that's the last thing you see. So kudos to the government for taking that action to do that. And you know, on that score, I'm going to touch base with Peter to ask him to highlight on what I've just said to see if I'm on the right track. Peter.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me on your show in the first place. But I just really want to say a lot of the things that you said are areas that we ourselves have really highlighted too, in terms of the condition of work in the market, the vendors arcade. And as you know, the vendors arcade, it was built as primarily to accommodate persons who used to sell in the boulevard and you know, on certain streets in car streets and so on. And the structure we complain about the manner that it was built, the kind of structure, the kind of facility. We thought it had serious shortcomings from the beginning. But they went ahead with it because the whole ethos was about trying to get the vendors off the street and so on. We had no problem with that as long as we would be located in an area that probably is good for us to, and is good for business. But in the longer run, it really became a situation where we had to juggle with the rain, the water. And these are the things. And the design was really badly set because water, when rain fell, it was disposing the water in the walkway. So people, if you were in the vendor's arcade any given day when rain is falling, you would want to leave that area, and which is
I've seen it myself.
You would want to leave. You wouldn't want to stay there because the thing is, we would expect if we had 100 persons in the vendor's arcade a particular day when a cruise ship is around. When rains had fallen, you say, oh my God, well, you captivate these people, you have them because rain is falling.
And you're losing the business.
But you're losing the business because they have to leave and go somewhere else and to look to seek shelter. Our goods are not protected as well. We have to find tarpaulins and so on.
But talking about goods, Peter, another thing that I find after 25, 30 years in the business, it is so simple to have a central warehouse, whereas when the people go, they can just lock their things in it because these people, they don't have a lot of money. The profit margin is not that great on those goods. And they have to take that stuff, I don't know, to their home or put it in cars and bring it back. It's very onerous to do things like that.
And to tell you the truth, the vendor's arcade has an area where we call a storeroom area, but that storeroom area is leaking. It's leaking. Many persons, both some of these lockers have been damaged, and the place is waterlogged. Anytime rain falls, water seeps through, and I don't know because of the design again, and probably it wasn't taken good enough time to do these things, and that's one of the situation. The market you spoke about, the provision market now, which was redesigned, and some of the European funds was used to design that place. But again, I agree with you 100% that it was badly designed with all these valleys and so on, and some of the areas, the capacity of the pipe and so on was a little too much for the amount of water that was coming through there. They were smaller than the amount of the flow, the water flow. And now, if there is rain for about half an hour, within that half an hour, the whole market will be engulfed with water. You might be in a particular area where you think you're safe, but then within a few minutes, water will reach you wherever you are.
This is terrible.
And it's really, really terrible. Some of these vendors, they could tell you that the legs are swelling up and they're developing different kinds of problems with their leg because they always have to be in that water there. And this is a very serious problem. We visited it last time with the town clerk, and they promised that they were putting some monies aside and so on. But as you said, they always lament of the situation with not paying and people are delinquent. But sometimes there are situations that you're not earning. There are things mitigating against you making money. If rain falls, people don't come around. No one wants to walk through a pool of water to come and buy.
Yeah, that don't make any sense.
It doesn't make no sense.
But tell me something, Peter. I mentioned about shed 4 and 5. You're familiar with it?
I'm familiar with it.
Now, what I'm trying to say, this thing's about 800 feet long.
Yes.
Now, I'm just asking a simple question. It is so simple. Sheetrock is not an expensive thing. If you just put some small cubicles, okay, all along there, and open towards the land side, isn't that a relatively good area?
We mentioned that some time ago because one time the Castro City Council and other people, they were concerned because they were saying that they really wanted to develop that place into something else, and that
but temporarily
it was prime property and they wanted to get us off. And I suggested, and I said, well, what about the shed? What about this shed they have, they're empty for so many years and so. At the time, they were saying that they don't know if it would be safe because it was just a little while after 9/11 and everybody was wondering whether it would be safe to have us close to the port and all of that. But we were saying, if you wanted to move us, one of the first things we thought that would be important to us is that you think of somewhere to relocate us. And we suggested there. And it never happened. And custom, they gave some little kind of silly excuses and nothing happened.
But you know, another area which I want to focus on is the big shed on the West Wharf itself. The amount of nearly 90% of the cargo we get today is really on containers.
Yes.
And I've always said that we have 200 acres of land in Cul-de-sac, and these containers should really be going down to Cul-de-sac. Okay, idea. And that big shed on the wharf can be easily fixed up, and that could be a whole tourism center. Okay, for the people to come in there. Because I keep saying all the time, the competition is not with each other. It's in Aruba, St. Martin, Curacao. When you come into a harbor and you see all a nice place like that, and you come into it, the first impression is terrible.
Yes.
And
yes,
and I mean, asked you a question earlier. How many people, how many vendors you think you all have in total?
We have over 1,000 vendors in that
That's
small
a
area.
lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
Now, I was in Paris recently, and I told them that what I saw in the heart of Paris is that you can build a metal frame with galvanized pipe, roughly 25 feet long, 7 feet high, 6 feet wide, and the same tarpaulin, but they have eyelets and they look nice, and you can lift up those things and have them anyway. Because you even have them in the city sometimes, at least it's going to be presentable.
Yeah.
Because as you know, many people want to come close to the areas where the business is so they can get the living.
Yeah.
But if that has to be done, then it has to be done properly. Yeah.
And I'm agreeing with you because I was in South Beach just recently, and we actually saw competition as well. There were this wide area there with endless people, and it's 24 hours business and tourism and so on. But it's nothing compared to what we have, and this is what is the eyesore that is really troubling people.
Yeah.
One of the time, SLASPA came out with some reports saying that people were saying that they felt unsafe walking through the vendors arcade because of the condition of the place and so on. And National Geographic did something some time ago, about 2 years ago, and they named St. Lucia Market as the third best market in the world. Yeah. But it wasn't as a result of the facility or anything like that. It was a result of the availability of fresh produce and the luscionness that is in the area, how people speak, and what was available at the time was everything about St. Lucia. And that's the reason why we got that. They had nothing to do with the facility, the physical structure. Because this physical structure alone we wouldn't be nowhere.
We're coming to the end of our program right now, Peter, but just one quick word before you. I went down to town a couple of times on a Saturday, and I noticed between the market and the CDC, they have all these houses on a Saturday. Are you with me?
Yeah, doing Saturday morning, yes.
What I was saying that I felt again should be done, since it's been a successful venue, you know, one could put up about maybe 20 poles on either side of the road, and instead of having all that, and it's very simple with some neat wires, and you just pull up a tarpaulin and just leave it and take it out so that you don't have to bring all that stuff there again, and you have a portable. Well, Peter, I want to thank you so much for being here today. This is the end of our first segment, and I want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you.